Africa in the 19th century, a continent in chains. One by one, European powers seized the land, enslaving nations under their rule. But among them stood a kingdom that refused to fall, a land that would not kneel: Ethiopia. And at the heart of this resistance was the legendary Battle of Adwa, the battle that proved Africa was never meant to be conquered. In the late 1800s, European nations gathered in Berlin to divide Africa among themselves. France, Britain, Belgium, and Germany carved up the continent, taking land without resistance. Ethiopia was surrounded. Italy in the north, Britain in the east, and France in the south. It seemed only a matter of time before Ethiopia, too, would fall. In 1889, Italy and Ethiopia signed the Treaty of Wuchale. Ethiopia believed they were securing an alliance, but Italy had altered the treaty's wording. In the Amharic version, Ethiopia remained independent, while in the Italian version, Ethiopia became an Italian protectorate. Italy had deceived Ethiopia, but Emperor Menelik II would not accept this betrayal. Italy believed they could force Ethiopia to submit, demanding Menelik recognize their rule. But Ethiopia, a kingdom that had never been ruled by foreigners, rejected their claim. Tensions escalated, and war became inevitable. In 1895, Italy marched towards Ethiopia, ready to conquer, but they underestimated their enemy. March 1st, 1896. The mountains of Adwa. Over 100,000 Ethiopian warriors stood against 17,000 Italian soldiers. Menelik II commanded the army, while Empress Teitu led a fierce battalion of women. The Italians were well armed, but Ethiopia had the land, the numbers, and the will to fight. The battle was brutal. Ethiopia's warriors, armed with swords and rifles, overwhelmed the Italians, cutting off their supply lines. By the end of the day, the Italian forces were utterly crushed. Thousands were killed, and over 4,000 Italian soldiers were taken prisoner. Ethiopia had won. Victory came at a cost. Thousands of Ethiopian fighters gave their lives. Women played a critical role, not just in battle, but in strategy, supplies, and healing the wounded. Adwa was not just a battle. It was a sacrifice, a stand for freedom, a message to the world that Africa was not weak. The victory of Adwa shook the world. Italy had become the first European power defeated by an African nation. This victory inspired African freedom fighters across the continent, from Ghana to Kenya. It proved that colonization was not destiny. Ethiopia stood as a symbol of African strength and unity. Today, Ethiopia remains the only African country never colonized. The spirit of Adwa lives on, celebrated every year, reminding the world that Africa was never meant to be ruled by foreigners. The victory of Adwa is not just Ethiopia's, it is Africa's, forever etched in history as the day Africa stood tall. Adwa was more than a battle. It was proof that no nation, no people are destined to be conquered. It was the victory that shattered the chains of doubt. It was the day Africa showed the world, we are unbreakable. We are free.
Ethiopia will stretch out her hands to God.